Welcome to the Smart HVAC Marketing Podcast, the podcast for HVAC contractors who are ready to quit screwing around and begin growing their business. Powered by Rival Digital. On this show, you'll hear from industry leaders and become equipped with the tools and knowledge you need to build a world-class business. Now, here's your host, Eric Thomas.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Smart HVAC Marketing Podcast. My name is Eric Thomas. I'm the host of the show, also the president of Rival Digital, a full-service digital marketing agency that exclusively services the HVAC industry. In 2021, I had a very special guest join me on the show, and it ended up topping the charts. It was the number one most downloaded episode we had for the entire year. So typically when I see stuff like that, it's a good indicator that the value of the content was good, the advice was sound, the guest knew what they were talking about. So I figured, why not bring him back on? So today we are joined by Lawrence Castillo from Brody Pennell. Lawrence, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy to be back, and good to hear that enough people found value in our last podcast to download it a lot and listen to it. So it's great to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are constantly trying to grow the show, and with that comes new listeners. So Lawrence, why don't you go ahead and reintroduce yourself for our listeners out there?
Sure. I am the president of Brody Pennell Heating and Air Conditioning in Los Angeles. We are a 77-year-old company that services most of the west side of Los Angeles and the outskirts beyond. And prior to that, I have served as the general manager of a handful of companies on the West Coast. I spent my career in Los Angeles and British Columbia. So that is where I've done all of my work. I've been lucky and fortunate to be able to work with a lot of really smart people during my career, learned a lot of great things, and had important people in this industry as friends and mentors. And I think all of that rubbed off and contributed to the success that I've had in running companies. And so a long history of running heating and air conditioning companies, starting with a very small operation and working on up to very large operations. So,
yeah. So last time we had spoken, you were in the process of taking Brody Pennell and really, trying to grow the company. So let's hit on 2021 a little bit and talk about some of the growth that you all experienced during that year.
Sure. A banner year here. Like I said, a 77-year-old company and a name that's really part of the fabric of West Los Angeles. We worked really hard and just completed what was the best year in the history of this company. We grew top line and bottom line by just, an incredible amount. And I'm really proud of our team. We were also fortunate enough to have been voted the best heating and air conditioning company in Los Angeles by the readers of the Los Angeles Times. And that is no small feat. This is a population base. There's so many people that live in Los Angeles, and there are tens of thousands of contractors, from chucking a truck to $60 million operations. And to be the one who is chosen as the best by the readers is quite significant. So we are waving that flag all over town and making sure that our customers know that they're dealing with the best company. And of course, you have to live up to that, right? The bar is set very high. And so when you're advertising that on your website and it's on your hold music when people call in to book a call, and it's on your trucks, there's a level of expectation, and we do our best to live up to that every day. Something like that comes as a result of the hard work of many. We try to give people an amazing customer service experience with every call. And it's everything from, when that first call comes in and is booked, it's the experience they have with the call taker. It's everything through dispatch and through the technician and the follow-up. So we're not perfect. We have our warts, but we work on that daily. And so we're proud of that achievement. Toward the end of last year, really made a concerted effort to put together a good growth plan for 2022. And that's part of what we discussed on the last episode was, good companies have a written growth plan. And so, I have a director of recruiting, and I hired her last year because the effort that it takes to grow this business the way that we want to grow it, it's more than just I can, handle. I needed somebody full-time to be able to dedicate themselves to that. So they got after it in November, and I'm happy to say that our training class of 9 is well underway for our first training class, which is 9 people, well underway here for the first part of 2022. And this individual has us filled up with interviews, just on a consistent basis. So I know we talked about that a lot on the last episode, but practicing what we preach over here and making sure that, we're just seeing new talent walk in the door every day. And, we narrow it down and choose the ones that make sense for our business and for our customers.
Yeah. So in growing the top and bottom line numbers, obviously something had to have been changed. With the company being 77 years old, and this in particular year being the one where it seemed to really, really grow. What changed either from an operational standpoint or from a customer service standpoint that kind of helped you guys get there?
Good question. I think that the way that we're doing things now are quite different than the last group of management. And so, and as I alluded to earlier, I've had exposure to a lot of really great stuff over my career. And I've, as the years have gone on, I've put all that stuff in my back pocket. And when you arrive at a place where they might not have had exposure to some of that, that great process and procedure and the ideas that were successful at other places, it's change, and you do your best to, implement that as responsibly as possible. But honestly, that's really what it came down to. We put together a great year with largely the same amount of people. And we did that because we were doing things better. There was low hanging fruit, right? There was just proper management of your schedule, and as a guy who's been inside of enough heating and air conditioning shops, not just of the ones that I've run, but of my friends, and people, I get phone calls, folks ask for advice. And, I always start with dispatch and the call center because, it's booking the call right. It's assigning the right number of calls. Sometimes I'll get a call from somebody and they've got 5 or 6 calls on a technician. And, there are simple lessons and there's low hanging fruit. So there are things that we did here to make sure that we were squeezing every drop out of every day. And so it made a huge difference. Just really proud of the team.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, another thing that was pretty remarkable to me, and this is something that I see a lot on different Facebook groups, different forums, or different, groups that I'm in where I hear people talking about marketing budget, and they're talking about, what percentage to properly allocate to it. And you don't do the full 10%. You do less than that, correct?
We're at about 5%.
Yeah.
And, and this was something that we hit on the last time, but it's worth repeating. We create our own leads from our service schedule, right? I market for tune-ups. I don't market for replacements. And because we create those leads ourselves. And, if your team is out there working hard on getting reviews, it reduces your marketing spend. If your team is out there giving great tune-ups, which turn into, technician turned leads, it reduces your marketing spend. There are a number of ways to do it, but we spend 5%, maybe 6%, and not anything more than that. I think, this year we might ramp it up a little bit because we have a really big growth plan this year. But if you are controlling what you can control inside the business that can help to offset that marketing cost, it's a great thing at the end of the month to be able to look at your P&L and see, that the revenue has grown, but the marketing budget hasn't.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So when we're talking about 2022 and the aggressive growth plan that you guys have written down, I'd like to hit on the pricing for that, because there's price increases across the board for a lot of things, pretty much almost everything. So how does pricing play into your growth plan?
It's quite important. January 1, the first week of January, we changed all of our pricing yet again. And during the calendar year last year, we were handed 3 or 4 price increases by all of our manufacturers, distributors. Everybody got into it, and it's understandable. And we are not going to absorb that as a company, right? We have to adjust our pricing, and we can't wait. That's something that if it's January 19th today and you haven't changed your pricing this year, then that's 19 days worth of installations, 19 days worth of service where you're paying, for that increase, and your customers aren't sharing in it. So you have to be priced appropriately. I'm not afraid to be the most expensive company, in our part of town, and we make no apologies for it. We deliver a great product. So I think for, your listeners, it doesn't matter what size, small or large companies, being priced appropriately is that's at the top of the list of what you have to do this month. Yeah.
So what's a good strategy? Say someone's never done a price increase. They've always been to be honest, it is kind of a, if you're a new business owner or you're, a new operator of a business, it can be a little intimidating to call a customer or send out a mailer to your customers and say, our prices are going up pretty much. What's a good way to communicate that to the homeowner in a way that they understand and don't get upset with?
Well, we did it last year here. And I can tell you that we changed the price of regular service. We changed the price of maintenance agreements. We changed the price of equipment. And, it's just a lot of training, right? Mm-hmm. Our customer service representatives needed to understand that, you need to prepare them for the objections, right? People aren't going to understand, hey, I've been a customer for 20 years. I've always been paying, whatever for you guys to come out. I don't understand why it's more now. Mm-hmm. And, there's a lot of ammunition for that right now. Everything is more now, right? Meat and gas and just everything is more. Yeah. And, the reality of it is that the manufacturers, they're sending you 4 letters a year saying, I'm sorry, but, due to prevailing market conditions, we have to increase prices. And so you just have to, just as delicately as you can, explain that to your customers. And they get it. If you explain it thoughtfully, they understand. And many of them are business folks themselves. They run a business or, are managers in a business where they have the same thing going on. So it's not a foreign idea or concept to most. It's just happening everywhere. And, it's just all in the way that you deliver the message.
Yeah. See, in my opinion, I think it says more about the quality of the company if they actually increase their prices, because, and maybe I have a different perspective than, the average homeowner, because I run a business. So I understand overhead costs and costs of maintenance of vehicles and salaries and benefits and all that stuff. But I think it says more to me about the quality of the company if they have to raise their prices versus the person who doesn't. Because the person who doesn't is probably just himself or herself, and they're just trying to make a quick buck. versus the company who has the best warranties in town and has the best customer service in town and the best tools and equipment and products to offer.
It's, for the one-man truck or the 3 or 5-man operation, those folks, they may not be paying workers' compensation insurance. They only have a few trucks on the road. They're not pulling permits. Everything is done by cutting corners. And if they're cutting corners now, then, there's no additional cost to them for all these items. So they're just going to continue to operate, on a dime. And so, yeah, for folks like that, and they're going to be out of business in a couple of years anyway. So, but if, inevitably, when you talk to enough people about this, and we talked to so many people last year about this, you're going to have some folks that just don't understand it. All you can do is do your best, explain to them, and just give them the option. It is what it is. If you want us to stay in business and to be here to continue to service your system like we have for 76 prior years, it's just going to cost a little more. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned something about in the way your technicians communicate that, and you said it comes down to training them to be able to communicate that. And that's another point that, we had talked about prior to this in regards to your plan for 2022 was training and, continuing to train your technicians. So what does that look like?
It needs to be going on inside of all of our businesses every day. And I know that, right now with gathering folks, it's a little bit problematic with the virus and such, but there are ways around that. But, everybody, I think a responsible business owner sits back in January, or hopefully sits back in December and decides what they're going to do differently in the next year. But here we are in the middle of the month, and, some things need to have changed, right? You're trying to do things better this year than you did last year. I know one thing that we identified here was that our training on the CRM that we use, which I've mentioned in the past, the Service Titan, it needs to be better. Everybody has to have a better grasp of the software and how to use it. I think there's a lot of opportunity there, and there's Service Titan offers a bank of videos. There's plenty of outside parties and a lot of ways to train your people. So that was something that we identified as important going into this year. But the training is, it's not just the folks inside of your building, but it's your outside staff as well. You just, good companies, they're training every week, and that's what we do here. So the training plan is just as aggressive as the growth plan this year. We've just been heating and air conditioning here for a long time. And so we added insulation, we added water heaters and tankless water heaters. And all of this requires training, right? It's training on how to book the call and take the call, what you're going to communicate to the client. It's sales training, it's installation training. So it's a lot of training going on over here.
Oh yeah. Well, and there's, like you were saying with sales, because now you're offering, a different service that you can cross promote and cross sell to the homeowner.
And we've already had just a great response on the water heaters. We just flipped the switch on that at the beginning of the year, and we did so thoughtfully, right? We everybody has been trained on every aspect of it, and so we're well prepared.
Yeah. I think water heaters are one of those low-hanging fruits for contractors. I think that because they're not too expensive for you or for the homeowner, and it's something that they're easy to sell. From what I can tell, at least from what I'm seeing on my end, which is obviously the marketing side of things, marketing for water heater replacements is so much easier than, HVAC system replacement, just due to the cost.
Well, you have two opportunities. A tank water heater, it's demand service, right? When your water heater goes out, you're typically not shopping, right? And so it's a quick Google search, and you're having somebody come out because you've either got water everywhere and you're property is damaged, or something really bad is about to happen. So it's about acting quickly. The other part of it, though, that like tankless, sure, that's an opportunity that every one of our comfort advisors that's in a house talking to people about heating and air conditioning equipment, they should be talking to them about that as well. That's a scope of work that we can take care of at the same time. There are rebates. There's energy savings. There's just so much benefit to the homeowner, and I think that probably many and most companies don't do a good job in relaying that. I think that, and I've thought for a number of years that the tankless market is it's really underserved here in Southern California. So it's, something we've added, and I look forward to having success with that this year.
Yeah. So have you all recruited plumbers to kind of go in along with that to open up maybe a plumbing division eventually?
Yeah. So we trained everybody, in our installation department, but somebody is here that has much experience with those, and but then it becomes shuffling the other folks through so that they can participate in installations and see exactly what's required. It's easier than you would imagine. So, and once again, the benefit to the homeowner it's great. So,
yeah. And so another topic that's been kind of hot on top of like pricing and price increases and all that stuff is recruitment. It was an issue last year, and a lot of folks are still anticipating that it'll continue to be an issue this year. I'm seeing on my end of the world as well, trying to even recruit people for digital marketing. And so that's part of your plan for the year, correct? Is to really ramp up the recruitment efforts, right?
Yeah. All of us are competing for such a small pool of talent out there, right? And so that's why we hired a director of recruiting, and she's, like I said, she's been here for a few months and she's been fantastic. She's got her eye on the ball. And in order to, like, we just put together a training class of 9. Mm-hmm. Okay. In order to filter through many more candidates than that and get those 9 on board, it was a huge effort. So, we'll continue to do that as the year goes on. And, but that's the key to the manpower is just the key to growing this company. So, they're already out there in the field and it's exciting. So yeah, the recruiting is for us the key to having a really successful year this year. So
what are some of the things that you guys have done in recruitment to find quality candidates?
So the young lady that I've hired, she used to work for the gas company here, and her job was to recruit what they call engineers, which are the folks that go out and survey and, identify issues. It wasn't all that different than what we do here, as we recruit for technicians and installers. So she's made great relationships with the trade schools. Of course, she runs ads. On actually her second day, she was at a trade school and at an event, right? And she gets it. The biggest company in Southern California in heating and air conditioning, they are doing Zoom interviews with trade school candidates. And, I don't know how many folks they're getting out of that or how people are responding to that, but we're not doing any Zoom interviews. We're bringing people in. We want them to see our operation. We want to meet them and, chat with them and just identify. And I think that's really the way to hire people is they have to be in front of you. You have to be able to get the feeling whether they're somebody that our customers want in their homes or not. Yeah. So we're not doing large scale, Zoom interviews, but we're really lining them up. There's there's a lot of folks and some small companies, they may not be in a position to train people, let alone 9 people. Right.
Yeah.
that could be hard, but you got to start somewhere, right? Bring a couple of bodies on, and it's going to, your overhead is going to change a little bit. But man, down the road, when you're, 3-6 months down the road, and they're, they can drive their own truck and take care of calls, that's a game changer for your business. So, but it's got to start somewhere.
Yeah. And that seems like a pretty solid differentiator for your company versus other companies. Cause like you said, it's a small pool. They're probably getting offers solicited to them from other companies as well. In that regard, I think that's a pretty solid differentiator between you and some of your competition. And as you alluded to earlier, LA is a very saturated market for HVAC, a lot of competition. So what else do you guys do really when it comes to competition to kind of stand out?
Well, I'll tell you what, we use that best of Los Angeles as a designation. And, we make sure that everybody knows it. It's in every ad that we run. It's just all over the place. And so, we do that. And I think this is something that we might have touched upon last time, but the folks that work for you, your technicians, your installers, your CSRs, some of them have worked for other heating and air conditioning companies, or they have worked somewhere else where they have friends that are, just bright young individuals that would make sense for your business. So one of the first things that we did was to just, incentivize our existing employees. Hey, do you have friends that, might fit in here? And, we had them turn those names over and went through an interview process that way too. So, sometimes you'll find some of your best folks that way by using your existing employee base as your recruiters.
Yeah. Yeah. So when it comes to like, I guess just like the overall operation with the competition, because LA is, from what I've heard, it just seemed like it's just there's companies pretty much running everywhere for heating and air conditioning. So there's a lot of competition out there, and like you were saying, there's the ones that continue to grow and get it, and then there's the ones that kind of fall behind. So what do you guys do to approach that, like when it comes to competition entering the market and then existing competition in the market?
To me, there is no competition. And I truly believe that, 100%. We compete against ourselves. And, if you're worried about what goes on elsewhere or inside of other people's buildings, then you're not taking care of your own house. And, what counts to us is what our customers think about us. So I can't concern myself with other companies, what they're doing, what they're selling, what their pricing is. That's just background noise. I really just, and I know enough about the marketplace, having been here for so long. I know where companies are. I know what they charge. I know who's running them. I know who's working there. I know probably far too much. But it's just, I spend no amount of my time dealing with that. The only time that I run into anything having to do with another company is when we're booking calls and somebody else installed it within the last year and something's wrong and they're not going back out there. So they want us to come out and fix the problem. That's one instance where I hear about other companies. The other instance is when one of my comfort advisors, comes up the stairs and says, hey, I went out and ran a call and, XYZ is there, they're at $13,000 and we're at whatever, $19,000. So these are the only two times that I really hear anything about other companies. I don't spend any of my time worrying about it. We take care of what we have to take care of inside of these four walls. And we did that last year and we did it to, great success. So I'm not really concerned. And I'll tell you what, I drive around and I see billboards for other companies and I see television commercials and, that's all great. They can, if that's where they're going to spend their marketing money and if that's what's going to, generate calls for them, then that's what they choose to do. I'm not doing that. So.
Yeah. And so when it comes to like tire kickers and like price shoppers and stuff out there, how do you guys kind of go about that? Because that's something that a lot of contractors run into, is like price shoppers.
It's going to happen, right? If you are a homeowner and you want an estimate on replacement, we are going to come out there for free, and we're going to give you our best effort, and we are going to price it just as we price all of our jobs. And, then at that point, it becomes a conversation, between our representative and the homeowner. Some people are out there getting 6 bids, right? And you're never going to be able to help that. And, sometimes those people, they may never even buy, right? It's just, that's the way some folks are. It's the way they buy a car, right? Mm-hmm. It's the way they interview general contractors to do a remodel. It's just, some people just do that, and you can't be afraid of it, right? You can't not want to run the call. It's just bad business to not do that. You have to go out, treat every customer as they're the most important, and, give them attention. And even though they might not be serious, or there are people that ask my technicians, hey, just give me a ballpark before you send somebody out here. That's not the way it works, right?
Yeah.
So, we're managing that process, right?
Yeah.
We're in control of it.
So to piggyback off of that, what are your thoughts around presenting the pricing on your website in regards to, like, the good, better, best option, and allowing the homeowner to configure what they think is best for their home?
That's something that's been talked about a lot recently, right? The whole e-commerce portion of our business. And some folks do it. There are some companies that will put their pricing right on their website. We don't do that here. I'm a big believer in the customer experience, and, some folks might want to go on and build their system, and, you can do it with a car. If you go onto the Mercedes website and you pick a model, and you can add your interior and add your features, and it's going to tell you exactly what that car costs. That's great for that industry. But for me, and this is coming from somebody who, during my career, I ran plenty of sales leads and sold a lot of equipment. There was something special about going to somebody's house and, meeting them, getting to know them, taking a look at their existing application, letting them know how we could, improve things for them. And then being able to price it and be in control of the situation right there. Right. Mm-hmm. I think that's giving people a great experience.
Yeah.
So we don't put anything on our website, and I don't see us doing that anytime soon.
Yeah. I do see a lot of stuff online about just like different, when it comes to just pricing in general, not just like the e-commerce side, but like pretty much everyone's like, and even in like recruitment, they're like, put the money up front. Like when you're putting a job ad, how much are you going to pay me? Or, put that out there before I interview, or put the cost of this up front before I even consider talking to you. And like, to your point, like you were saying, they could probably afford it, whatever it is. But seeing that price up front might cue a reactionary defense response that tells them, oh, I can't afford this right now, or I'm going to go take this and try to find it cheaper or something. And it could hurt your ability to sell.
I think I'm a real big believer, and I think that the award that we won last year, it was all about that. That award was given for customer service, right? These people selected us as the best company in Los Angeles based upon their experience with us, right? And that's it, their experience with us. And I believe in giving people a great experience. And if you do that, the perceived value of anything that you have to offer, whether it's a service agreement, whether it's replacing your system, it doesn't really matter, whether it's the repairs that you're offering, you have all the ammunition because of how you've treated the customer, right? Mm-hmm. And if I just have numbers on a website, or, we're quoting over the phone, there's no value to that, right? We've done nothing. They don't know us. We're trying to make people members of our family. And the only way to do that is to wow them. So,
yeah. So another thing that's kind of been really affecting the whole world, as everyone probably knows, is the coronavirus. And, like we were just talking about, going into the customer's home and sitting down with them at the table, or going in just to inspect their system or whatever. Some people are kind of getting scared from having people in their house, and people are getting sick. So how's COVID affecting your business right now?
It is affecting our business. In the last 2 weeks, we've had somewhere between 5 and 10% of our workforce out of the office. And, it's just this time around, it's traveling quickly, and and our customers as well. You walk into a beautifully built service schedule every day, or installation schedule, and then you get the call that somebody's tested positive, and that call goes away, or that installation goes away and gets rescheduled. And, now you're looking at a crew that you have to find work for, or service technicians that you're looking for calls for. So, you just do your best, right? It's just something that we're going to have to live with. You just don't overbook, right? That's a lesson that a lot of folks have to learn the hard way, but we're just handling it day by day. I know that everybody does this differently, but here at our business, if you're not vaccinated, we test you every Monday. And the reason that we do that is because we are guests in our clients' homes, and many of them request vaccinated technicians. I had a guy 2 days ago that he wants to do a $20,000 system. He's 91 years old, and he wants to make sure that the folks that are coming to his house, aren't going to get them sick. And I am absolutely full of respect, and I understand his wishes, and we will grant his wishes because, we are thrilled that he chose us. So we do everything that we can here to keep our employees and our customers safe, and we will continue to do so.
Yeah. How do you communicate to the homeowner? Like, say they've got an install scheduled, and they're expecting a technician, a crew at 8 a.m. to come start the install, but then they're both sick. How do you communicate that to the customer?
The installers are sick, or the customers are who's sick?
The installer.
We've, in the last couple of weeks, we had something like that happen. So you shuffle, right? And we're fortunate enough that I have some people in service who are also, folks that have spent a long time installing. So we just, we can adapt and move stuff around. Sometimes maybe you have some smaller jobs that can be, that weren't time sensitive. Right now at this time of the year, the biggest thing for us here is to make sure that everybody has heat, right? That's the most important thing. And some folks, you might have a family whose installation today was based upon age of equipment and efficiency. And you might have another family that their installation was based upon their system stopped working and they have no heat right now. So you prioritize, you move stuff around, you just try to get everybody taken care of, but you have to have the capacity, to handle something like that when it happens. We're fortunate that we do here. Yeah.
On the flip side, if the homeowner calls in and says, I've got COVID, how does that go down?
We've had it. We've had that happen a number of times. We were a couple of weeks ago, we were in the middle of a really large project, multiple systems, right? I think there were like 4 or 5 systems in the house, and we had done 3. And then over the weekend, they tested positive. So we just, moved it out, let them know we would come back when, everything was good and when they felt comfortable. And so, you try to roll with the punches, but it's going to happen. This is a strange time for all of us. And we just do the best that we can, but we have to expect these things to happen. And you have to prepare for these things. To think about in your business. I mean, I think about in my business, the people that it's affected on a management level. as well as rank and file level. And, you sort of have to put a worst case scenario in your head. Last Saturday, I get word that 2 of my CSRs tested positive. So, there was a text chat between a bunch of us managers figuring out how we were going to get that handled, and so that it wasn't going to interrupt business and we could take care of all of our customers. So you just have to, but you need to be thinking about it now, because it's going to affect, many businesses, right? If it's not affecting you today, in 2 weeks, somebody's going to be home for a week trying to get better. So you gotta be thinking about it.
Yeah. It's getting to the point now. I mean, we're rolling up on year 2 full years of this being a thing in the United States. So, at first it was like a dependent variable. It was like you had to like hope that this wasn't going to affect you somehow, and you kind of had to, work around it. But now it's like, okay, it's been here for 2 years now. You have to have this built into your plan. Like you were saying, good businesses have a plan. You need to have a plan for this. You need to have a plan for Monday morning you show up and 80% of your team is sick, or 80% of your jobs canceled because they're sick, or whatever it may be, or there's a new illness going around. And so you got to have a plan for those things.
This is a great reminder for all of the folks that are listening that run or own a business, because, things can change overnight, and, you lose a couple of lead installers, or, 3 or 4 technicians, or folks that are answering the phone, the folks in the warehouse, right? If you're undermanned in your warehouse and you're staging, a dozen jobs for tomorrow, how does that affect you, right? Or even 3 or 4 jobs, it doesn't matter what size contractor you are. It's just people are going to be asked to do things that they're not used to doing. So, it's just preparation. People need to be thinking about this.
Yeah. Preparation and planning is huge. And kind of speaking on planning, I'd like to talk about like setting benchmarks for a yearly plan for your business, and kind of what approach do you take when it comes to creating that plan and setting benchmarks?
I think that, and it's appropriate to talk about now just because we ended last calendar year. It's a great opportunity for you to look back and take a look at each department and see where you failed or succeeded, right? And to really put a plan and not just roll into Jan 1 and wake up and, just expect everything to continue on. You really, planning is the key to success in business. And so, for us, we did that. And for my business here, everything is a multiple of manpower. And, it's as I alluded to a little earlier, we started with 9 new folks in the field this year, and we've added, a couple of bodies in the office as well. But we have to pay for those bodies, right? So you have to make the adjustments and, know that you're going to absorb some non-revenue generating labor over, a certain period of time before it begins to pay dividends. So for us, it's, manpower and training equals sales, and, sales plus management equals profit. So that's sort of the motto that I live by over here. And, but it all starts with manpower, and I can't stress it enough. I know I've been talking about it for the last hour here, but nothing's going to happen to change your business without having additional bodies. And the great companies really do a good job with this. You don't grow into a 30 or 40 or 50 or $60 million company without having a great process. And I've been a part of that, at the largest company in Southern California, where we had a school, and, the recruiting effort was just wave after wave after wave. And you have multiple, classes, training classes at different stages at any given time. And And this is how companies go from, 30 vans to a couple of hundred vans. So for any contractor of any size, it's just all about manpower. And, so that's, for us, that's really what it was, is just to examine the manpower and see what we needed to do for this year.
Yeah. I see kind of how, like, a lot of times how, like, manpower and like creating leads can kind of go hand in hand, because, you can create leads all day for your business, but you got to have someone to run the calls. And so, like, it comes to a point where, say, okay, we hit 5 million last year. And that consisted of, 8 install crews and 8 service technicians. I want to hit 10 million this year, but I want to keep my costs down, so I'm not going to hire anybody else. And so it makes you almost want to laugh, because I hear this all the time, because they think I can use the same people and generate more generate more revenue, and that means I'll have more profit. But they don't think about the part where they need the people to go run the additional jobs that it's going to take for the revenue. So when it comes to, like, staffing up and getting that, that manpower in place, do you hire for those positions based on the projections that you anticipate for the year?
During the course of the year, no. During the course of the year, we, your demand is what your demand is going to be. Let's say it's the middle of summer, and you see that you don't have the capacity, and this is really the story here. Not enough technicians to run the number of calls that we have, right? We identified that as a problem, and we said we're going to do everything we can so that we're not in that position next year. And you have to take a look at your own business, and it's all math, right? It's all math. So for us, I know that a certain amount of calls is going to turn into a certain amount of replacement revenue, or it's going to turn into a certain amount of service agreements sold, and then you pencil out the profit after that. But there's a lot of folks out there that have a small business, and they're just not used to doing that part of that part of it. And some coaching would help folks like that in getting to the next level. You just can't wake up every day and think that things are going to change without you taking the steps to affect change.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good lesson for any business owner in general. Is what got you here is not going to get you there. You want to be a $50 million company. Well, you got to get a $50 million process in place, and you got to get a $50 million team in place. Maybe not worth $50 million, but able to generate $50 million, either profit or revenue.
Eric, I think that, for the folks out there that have businesses that don't something for me that's always been key is I have a lot of friends in the industry, right? I've had a chance over the years to visit their shops and to have meaningful conversations with them, and to share financials, and to just, share ideas. And this has been key for me, right? And a lot, I saw a lot of smart stuff from a lot of smart people. And these are some of the things that, you learn and you take with you and implement in your business. Because if you're operating, without talking to people, you're just, you're not exposing yourself to what others might know. Right.
Yeah.
So I think, people need to have friends in the industry, and whether you're part of a best practices group, whether you're part of whatever, you just need to, have ongoing conversations and friendships with other people to do the same thing that you do.
Yeah. Well, that kind of perfectly bridges us into a topic that you and I have talked about numerous times recently, and I've seen conversation about on different podcasts, different Facebook groups. I've even talked about it a few times on our podcast, and that is coaching and mentorship. And that is, like you're saying, there's a lot of really smart people out there with good ideas that are willing to help. And then there's a lot of people out there that perhaps aren't so smart and have a lot of advice to give. When it comes to taking advice and finding a coach, what would you recommend our listeners to kind of heed with caution with?
Everybody's business has different needs, right? There are the best practices groups. They have a lot to offer, right? And I came up through one of them, and I've said this many times. I spent many years in Airtime 500, right? The Success Group, the Success Academy, all of that stuff, and that stuff was really important. I started in this industry at a very small company, and I just, I needed a blueprint for success. That stuff, Jim Abrams' brilliant stuff, was really impactful for me. And I learned so much about running a heating and air conditioning business through his group. There's Nexstar out there. There's Praxis, which is, what Abrams does now. And so there's a lot out there. You have to be the kind of operator who, is going to spend that money and take it and apply it to your business so that it can make a difference. But you gain a lot of friendships. I have so many friends from 15 plus years ago, that I met through, the Success Group. So, and, you keep those friendships and you talk about, how to make each other's, how you, what they're doing in their business that can help you possibly in yours. So I think that the best practices groups are worthwhile. And all the information's out there. Talk to people. I think that, talking to folks that have actually been a part of these groups is a great place to start. I think most contractors know people who are in one of those groups and chat with those folks, right? There's so much good stuff that comes out of them. When it comes to, other folks, business coaches or sales coaches, I'm acquaintances with many of the folks in that space, right? And there's a lot of options. And, I think that, all of these people, they bring some value to the table in one shape or form. I think that if you're a business who is looking for sales training or a business coach or whatever it is, I think that you need to probably choose somebody who can provide relevancy and results, right? So once again, it's just doing your homework. It's like what we all do, in our daily lives, right? You do your homework and you talk to people, and to try to make the wisest decision, right? There's a lot of smart people out there who, they have a lot to offer and who can probably help some of your listeners' businesses, but just, pick what's right for you by doing your homework and finding somebody that fits what you need, and talk to people. There's the Facebook groups that, exist out there, and there are just a number of ways to get involved in the conversation. So it's all out there,
Yeah. So for those people who have cut a check for some type of coaching and got burned, what would you recommend for them as they begin looking for another group?
I've seen it, right? I talk to enough people and I know that there are some folks that are, they write a check to somebody and they're not happy with the results, or the results, aren't what they thought they were going to get. But, that could be because, once you get the training, you have to you have to follow up, right? You have to stay on. I did this many years ago. Back in the early 2000s, I had Charlie Greer come out to my business, and he did sales training with my technicians and did ride-alongs. And, if you think that's going to change your business, and, Charlie leaves town, and, it was then upon me to make sure that we were practicing the paper towel close and all the things that Charlie would preach. And, so it's the same thing with any folks that are doing this now. If you're not, if you're not following up, you're not going to get results.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a great reminder as we head into, I guess, week 4 of the new year, where a lot of people's resolutions are slowly tapering off and people are beginning to forget about all the big goals they'd set for the year. So kind of on the flip side of our entire conversation, because almost all of our stuff has been in regards to, having a plan, making sure that you write your plan down. What, this is kind of a big question here for those who don't have a plan and they're listening to this later on and they're in the middle of April or May and they're just like, oh crap, I really fell behind on it this year and my phone's not ringing and I need to get something together. What's a few courses of action that you would recommend for them to kind of, whip it into gear before summertime?
It's too late by May, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to identify things way earlier than that. If you're sitting there in March and not much change has happened and, the phone isn't ringing the way you want it to, and you haven't increased your manpower by the amount that it should. And, it's like, you have to act now. If it's March or April, it's just going to be too late, right? Mm-hmm. You have to, in order to be hitting at all cylinders in May, you have to execute well in January, February, March, and April, right? Mm-hmm. So, but if you're sitting there in May and you're looking at, it's going to be a tough summer, right? You're going to be understaffed and too many calls and not priced correctly. And, and when you're understaffed, guess what happens? Your people are running too many service calls. They're running 5 and 6 calls. They're spending too little time on those calls. They're not able to give a great customer service experience, which turns into reviews, which makes it's just everything, slides downhill. Mm-hmm. So it's managing your business every day, Eric. And, for those folks who aren't in the office every day and who are calling it in from their dining room table or from their cabin up in Big Bear or from, an island somewhere, that's not a sustainable situation, right? You have to be in tune with your business. I'll tell you what, I've done this for a long time, right? And I sure would like to be home, right? Or I'd like to be traveling right now. But if I do that, the stuff that I need to happen here is not going to happen, right? I'm in it. I'm standing in front of my technicians constantly. I'm down in that call center. That's the kind of operator that I am and that I've always been, but the results have been because, that's the way I do it. So you have to manage that business every day. And, you're going to go home some days and you're going to just be disappointed in people, whether they're your customers or whether they're your employees, and you're going to have a knot in your stomach, and that still happens, right?
Yeah.
But you make it a better day the next day, right? You train and you overcome, and that's what good managers do. And if you're not doing that, and I have plenty of friends that own businesses that they're not involved in the day-to-day like they should be, right? And, the results are when that P&L comes out, right? Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, moment of fate.
That's right.
Yeah, moment of truth. So when it comes to like some marketing, some levers, we like to talk about levers around here, like different levers you can pull at different times for the business owners out there who perhaps don't have the strongest marketing, or the strongest brand presence or community presence or whatever it may be, and they're just looking for a few levers to pull. What are some things that you've seen work pretty well in a saturated market?
We market to our service base quite frequently. If your customer service agents aren't capturing the email with every single time they talk to somebody, they're letting everybody in the building down, right? Because those emails are who we market to. And we build lists, from those emails. Some people are going to get emails talking about, the tankless opportunity, and some people are going to get emails that are asking, for what do you want to do as far as changing the air quality in your home? Some people are going to get emails saying, your service agreement is about to expire. Some folks are going to get emails saying, hey, we left you a bid 2 days ago, click here for us to help you. You have to have the emails. And there's a large part of our revenue that comes from the emails that we generate to our service base. We don't hit people too much, right? You're not receiving 2 emails a month from us. We don't bother people like that. But we have directed marketing through the emails in our base. And then of course, anybody who we visit, we're asking for the review in the home, but if they don't leave the review, we are reminding them a day later, hey, you didn't leave us a review. Johnny Technician was out there and we hope he did a great job. Please let us know. There's just the power of the email is huge. So, for the contractors out there who aren't using that, it's a great source of business. Unexpected business sometimes, right? It's gravy for a lot of folks who aren't using it. Just start capturing email addresses with every call that you book. I think most middle to large size contractors all do this, but some of the smaller ones probably aren't doing it. So,
yeah, I'm a huge fan of building that email list because, you got to own something. If Facebook goes down and you've spent the past 10 years building your Facebook page, how are you gonna contact them? Or if Gmail goes down, you need to have a phone number to call them. And of course, if the internet goes down, the whole world's going to catch on fire anyways, so you don't have to worry about that. Right. But you need to have some type of tangible way of contacting them outside of a Google ad or, hoping that they find your website somehow. And that comes from having their contact information, and their address is ideal as well, for direct mail and stuff like that.
So that's a huge part of, that's one of the levers that we can pull here, and we can pull it quickly. Yeah. And if you're a plumbing business, which it's a demand business, right? People call a plumber not for preventative maintenance. They call a plumber because they have a problem. So, pay-per-click work in plumbing is a little more prevalent than it is in heating and air conditioning. It works a little bit differently, but managing your pay-per-click spend, managing your LSA ads, just all of that stuff, you have to really be on top of it. Sometimes people will be spending money every day that they don't need to be spending, right? Getting good at shutting things off when they don't need to be on is important. So managing the money you're spending online, having a layered marketing approach is just, to me, the way to do it. Direct mail is part of our regular diet over here. And like I said, we market for tune-ups. And so I'm a believer in direct mail. I always have been. And it makes the phone ring. So just, having a layered approach.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Lawrence, we're beginning to wrap up here. Is there anything that you feel I've missed or anything else that you really wanted to touch on?
I think we've touched upon a lot here. I've enjoyed coming on with you twice now, and I'm glad to hear that so many people heard our first broadcast. And I'm not a guy sitting here with all kinds of silver bullets, right? But as an operator, as somebody who shows up to his business every day and talks to his employees and tries to make impactful change, I've learned over the years. I've seen great owners and great managers, and I've watched how people have operated their business. And you got to do it yourself, right? Your employees they're just waiting for instruction from you, right? And some folks just don't give instruction. They don't give good instruction. They don't hold people accountable. People want to be held accountable, right? To be a good leader, it doesn't take all that much effort. But man, you can really just get great results out of people if they're incentivized properly. If you let them know what the expectation is, hey, if you're a call taker, this is what your call booking rate should be. This is my expectation of how many calls you're going to book. This is what the length of call should be that, when you're booking this type of a call, capturing all the right information, getting it to dispatch so it gets scheduled to the right person. Just, you just need to be involved in your business. And if you are, if you're knee deep in it, shoulder to shoulder with your folks, great things can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been another outstanding episode with you, Lawrence. I'm looking forward already to publishing this one because I know that a lot of contractors are going to find some good information here, even if it's one or two things. It might have been that thing that they hadn't thought about in the past, and now it's like that aha moment. So I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join me once again.
My pleasure to be here. Enjoyed it just like last time. And, I'll always come on here and chat and try to provide some value for your listeners.
Awesome. There's one last thing before we go. I meant to ask you this last time. I noticed some football helmets back there on your bookshelf. Is there a particular story behind that?
I'm from Colorado, and I went to the University of Colorado, and my sisters went there, and my daughter went there, and it's just it's black and gold runs through our veins. So Boulder's a special place, and I'm I grew up in it, and it's quite important to me. It's a special university. It's if you've never seen a football game in Boulder, then you need to make sure that you do that, because it's that campus is it's spectacular. But Boulder is, the last 2 years, it was U.S. News and World Report #1 place to live in America.
Wow.
And very special place. So awesome. Love my Buffs. Go Buffs.
All right, there we go. All right, well, thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Smart HVAC Marketing Podcast. Remember, folks, around here we say marketing is two things. One, get people to do something, and that includes you. I got you all to listen to this podcast, and now I'm asking you to leave me a review. That's part 2 of the ask here. So if you enjoyed this episode and you found any value in it, made you laugh, it made you cry, made you rethink the way you run your business, I would love to hear about it. You can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, or you can review it now on Spotify. So that would mean the world to me if you left us a review. And until next time, I hope all of you take care and run a profitable business.